Want a little more matzah? Just a little bit more? No worries. Pesach is here all over again. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Face to Face. I'm David Paskin, and this person, where are you? Over there. This beautiful human being is Rabbi Litwak. How you doing, Rabbi?
I am doing great and fired up for another session of Face to Face with my good friend, Rabbi David.
Yeah, wonderful. So I do like myself some matzah. I'm not going to lie. I'm particular to the onion. There's a box actually sitting outside of Susan's office. It's onion and something matzah. It's really stale, but because I tried it. But I like the gluten-free matzah. I like myself any matzah with peanut butter on it. I think is good for me. But Pesach is over, right? I mean, no more matzah.
You know what? You could say that, or you could say something different.
All right.
So here it is. Right, next Monday, right, is going to be the 14th of ER, which is exactly 1 month after the 14th of Nisan, which is the day before Pesach. And there is a little known, not exactly the most practiced of Jewish holidays, called Pesach Sheni, second Pesach. Because just in case you didn't get enough matzah, right, you can have some more. Of course, that's not the reason why we do it. You could eat matzah at any point if you would like. Okay? And this is really an interesting tradition, an interesting holiday that actually comes out of the Torah. And it comes from the book of Numbers chapter 9, where the Israelites are they're a month out of Egypt, and they're excited that they are going to celebrate Pesach. And part of that celebration is bringing the Pesach lamb offering. The problem was that there were certain men who were ritually impure because they had been in contact with human corpses and therefore were ineligible to participate in the Korban Pesach. Well, faced with the conflict of the requirement to participate in Korban Pesach and their ineligibility because of their impurity, they approach Moses and Aaron to say, look, right, we want to participate. How do we do that? Right? Well, Pesach Sheni comes about when God says to Moses, let them do it later. Right? So Pesach Sheni, right, is the holiday that occurs exactly a month after the first Pesach, right, and gives us a chance to observe it, not in the way that we normally do. We don't have to clean our houses, right, but we do get to eat a little bit of extra matzah. Really, there isn't a lot to this holiday other than a recognition that if you didn't get to do it the first time, get to do it a second time. So, Rabbi David, I can't hear you.
That's because I'm an idiot. Sorry.
There.
I pressed the wrong button. All I was saying was a shout out to David, who
I'm
said,
hanging on every word.
No, David said he liked my dancing, so I was just saying thank you to David for that. No, but I just wanted to. The reason I think, correct me if I'm wrong, why there isn't much to this holiday anymore is that the whole idea of impurity, not only do we struggle with it perhaps as modern Jews, but the whole idea of impurity really kind of went out the window with the destruction of the Second Temple. I mean, that's because none of us can ever really be pure. We're all sort of in the same boat. And so since we're all in the same boat, there's really no need to have a special day for those who are impure.
Yeah, I mean, Pesach Sheni remained, we'll say, operative as long as the temple stood. Today, the date on the calendar is really noted by just the slightest of changes
by
in the
us,
service.
by you and me. That's about it.
Right. And I'll be perfectly honest in saying that it's not a holiday that I observe regularly.
Neither do I. Neither do I.
But I do. But honestly, Pesach Sheni was instituted for those who hadn't offered the Pesach sacrifice in its proper time. I think that the spiritual message of this is really has some wonderful messages, even if you celebrated Pesach as completely as possible.
Yeah.
So I want to suggest three things that we could learn from this holiday. So you ready?
Oh, I'm so ready. The internet's a little wonky today, but that's okay. We can hear you. You do your thing, Rabbi. Go for it.
I'm doing my thing. All right. So I think that there's an interesting. There is no other similar concession that is granted for missing any other holidays. Right? There's no second chance that if you were unable to observe Sukkot, although some people do say that Hanukkah developed because they couldn't observe Sukkot, but it's not something that occurs over and over. There's no second chance if you missed Yom Kippur. What is it? Why did they allow for a second day or a second chance at Pesach? It's different from the difference between Pesach and all the other holidays is its national character. Okay? It commemorates the founding of Israel as God's emissary to humanity. This is something that was taught to me by Rabbi Ismar Shorsh from the past leader of conservative movement and Jewish Theological Seminary. All right, and if we think about each time we as a people go through a national upheaval, right, and we as a people need to be reconstituted, right, there is a public celebration of Pesach, not other holidays, but a Pesach, right? And the importance of Pesach Sheni seems to be that this is about we as individuals integrating into the community, right? That when we sacrifice the Paschal lamb, all right, we were identifying ourselves with the Jewish people. And it's at the beginning, the first time we did it. And now each and every other time, it's not, I'm just having a nice meal, right? But I am reaffirming my sense of belonging, right? And so there is, if I ever stray off of the path, I can come back to, right? I am part of affiliating with the Jewish people, right? So I think that that's the first one, right? I think that there is a second message to this, right? And that if we miss something, why don't we just let it go, right? We got out of Egypt. We went on this journey, and so we missed Pesach. It's not the end of the world, right? And I think that Pesach Sheni teaches us that this this is meant to motivate us every year and throughout our lives, right, to leave our own Egypt, right? Pesach is about leaving Egypt, right? But we left Egypt 3,000 years ago, right? But when we recognize that we're constantly leaving Egypt, that we are always on a journey, right, to make a change in our spiritual lives, in our spiritual state, right, that we are always looking to be better human beings. Right? How far we've come, we always need another. Right? We don't believe in nirvana in Judaism. We believe that we can reach a better state and that we can continue to reach a better state. Okay, that's the second one. Then I think that there's a third one, and this is where I want us to spend the most amount of our time, and that is the notion of second chances. Okay? When people talk about Pesach Sheni, right, what's the message of Pesach Sheni? They talk about second chances. Pesach Sheni is important psychologically. Right? That the accommodation that God makes for the people, right, in biblical times is a demonstration of our optimistic nature. Right? That we as human beings are endowed with the capacity to avail ourselves of second chances. That habit or fate is not the final arbiter of what we do with our lives. So, you were going to say something?
I was muted again. I keep pressing the button, but it's not connecting for some reason. Sorry. I just wanted to add to that. It was so beautiful that this idea of second chances as being one of the spiritual gifts of Pesach Sheni really isn't that much of a new idea. When it comes to, sort of our own personal Mitzrayim, there's an amazing quote from Rabbi Schneerson, who is the sixth Lubavitcher Rebbe, and I want to read it because I don't want to get it wrong. He says that the Torah passage that talks about those who couldn't participate in the first Pesach, it's not about just those who are physically distant on a distant road, who are physically unable, but he says that those who are contaminated by death is metaphorical also, and it refers to those of us who, for whatever reason, are feeling dead inside, or struggling to feel God's love, and that I know for me is a constant struggle, right? To let the negativity go, to let that bad energy go, to feel God in my midst. And there are, just this past Pesach, there were absolutely days this past Pesach when I just wasn't feeling it. I wasn't present. I was not dead inside, but I was at the very least I was asleep inside. And to know that, for the Torah, for God to say, that's okay, like that's going to happen, and I'm going to give you another chance. And the truth is, right, is that it's not just another chance. We have a million other. Every day is another chance. That's such a powerful idea to me.
Look, we have lots of instances in the Torah where great people that we define as great Jews, made mistakes, and some of them grievous mistakes. Yeah. And were not only forgiven when they truly repented, but they continued as leaders and great heroes in Israel. The concept of granting people a second chance is, I think, the worldview of Judaism. Look at the story of God's patience with the Jewish people after the incidents of the golden calf. I mean, we should have been wiped out, done over. Moses, all right, and a few others starting all over again. Okay? But God's patience is illustrative of that notion that God gives us second chances.
Yeah.
Right? And the fact is that the story of the people of Israel through our long and uneven history is one of second chances.
Yeah. Yeah.
All through our history. David, Solomon, Hezekiah, Ezra, they're all the passionate illustrative of second chances granted to individuals and the Jewish people, generally by God.
And I also think, Rabbi, that this day can call us to not only be thankful for the second chances that we know that we have, that God has given us, but it can also call us to be aware of all those who may need to be given a second chance. And what I mean is that, and I'm thinking just from this past week even, that there are individuals, there are groups of people who have historically, for lots of different reasons, been excluded from justice, been excluded from freedom, been excluded from whatever it is that I feel so lucky to benefit from. And one of the lessons I take this year from Pesach Sheni is that because I have been given a second chance, I have an obligation to make sure that other people who have been excluded are invited back in, are invited in to fully participate in either their faith life or democracy or whatever it is that they were lacking.
So I think you've touched on a really powerful point that it didn't occur to me until we were kind of preparing for this, is that there are two different levels of second chances. Most of the time when we think about second chances, we think about people who make mistakes, they've committed sins, and they need the power and the possibility of tshuva to return to the community. Okay? But the truth is, if we go back to the Numbers chapter 9 story, they didn't do anything wrong. The story that precipitated Pesach Sheni is not one of sin. Okay? They were fulfilling their obligations to care for the dead. And now they kind of like, wait, I don't get a chance to do this. Okay? Because of my current situation, I'm therefore excluded. Here's where I think a great lesson of Pesach Sheni is that there are very few things in life where it is too late. Right? It's not just, can I give myself a second chance to do something? Okay? Think about the story of Rabbi Akiva, right? Who is an adult, right? And he meets this woman, wants to marry her, and she says, I'm only going to marry you if you spend 12 years studying. He does that. He goes off, all right? And then as he's coming back, the story says that he's going to reconnect with his wife, and he overhears his wife. She said, I would even 12 more years, I would wait for him to study. And he goes off, and he finally reconnects with her after 24 years. I'm not sure either one of our wives would allow for that, but we'll set aside the idea. But it is the idea that he comes to Jewish life. He comes to Jewish education to study at a much later life, a much later point in his life. It's not too late to learn. Right? I love when I have adults in our community that discover their Jewish connection later. Right? You don't have to go to religious school. You just come and study whenever you want. Okay, but so I think that there's that point, and then, right, as you alluded to, there's also the possibility that can I be more understanding and give others a second chance? How can I open myself up, right, to allow for somebody who may have done something wrong, sinned, and made mistakes, right? Or simply by virtue of their situation was not given an opportunity the first time and therefore needs that chance a second time.
That's so beautiful. You also, when you talked about giving other people a second chance in the realm of forgiveness, you also made me think about how we also need to be forgiving to ourselves. That there are things that I've tried in my life that I have failed at. And very often I'll say, I mean, this happens to me, when I've recently been losing weight, thank God. But what'll happen to me is, I'll get on track, I'll start, and then one day I'll have a bad day, and then I'm like, forget it, That's a very closed mentality. That's not a growth mentality. And Judaism is all about growth mentality. It's all about, I haven't done it yet, or I haven't accomplished this yet. And there are more opportunities for me to take this challenge, to traverse this terrain, this journey that I'm on. And as difficult as it seems, this little tiny holiday that no one knows about, none of us celebrate, is such a powerful reminder of not only the forgiveness we need to offer to others and the second chances we have to offer to others, but also the forgiveness we have to give ourselves and the second chances that we have to not only give ourselves, but grasp hold of and take full advantage of.
Pesach Sheni teaches us that nothing is ever lost. It's never too late. Conduct can always be rectified, even if we are impure, if we are far away, we can correct ourselves. And that there's no justification for despair, right? We always have the potential to do better.
Yeah. And so just getting back to sort of my emotions around this week, a lot of people have been saying that the conviction was important and healing, but it wasn't the end. There's more to do. We're going to have a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth, 100th chance to get this right. And even when we get it right, we still have to keep working. We have to keep moving forward. We have to keep growing, as you said, and take all of those chances as they come and make the most of them.
What is the word Pesach? What do we use it for? What does it mean? All right, Pesach, to leap over, to get past, and I think that is a reminder that there don't have to stay where we are. Right? We can get past something.
Beautiful.
Right? And if we don't get it the first time, we get it the second time.
Right. So the takeaway from today, as one of our viewers, David, put it, is habit or fate. You said this earlier. Habit or fate is not the arbiter of our lives. What a beautiful takeaway.
Well, I want to say hello to my very dear and long-standing childhood friend, David Simon Baker. Thank you for coming on, and I'm glad you shared. Next time we get together, beers are on me.
Very nice. And I'm David, and everyone who's watching, I'm sorry for the wonky internet, but what are you going to do? You're
Yeah.
at the will of the Comcast gods. No, see, I just said something and now you're like completely frozen. Look at that.
So the next
Wait.
completely frozen, but maybe you can hear me.
No, say it now.
Next time, 2 weeks from chance, we get another chance at getting it right.
A face-to-face
There it is.
Sheni. Face-to-face Sheni. I love it. All right, guys. We'll see you in a couple weeks. Thank you, Rabbi Litwak. We'll see you all soon on Face to Face.
Thanks a lot, everybody.
Bye.